Here we are on the Information tab this time, where we'll take a look at some basic formulas and functions. Going up to the drop-down to Function, this brings up a variety of functions that we can program into our formulas. A longer list of options is available starting with All. We're going to start with Sum, which is the most common function. Now you'll notice that up in the formula bar, we now see the designation of rows and more detailed information that's displayed. That corresponds to column and row numbers of the cell that I currently have selected. So I'll just finish getting my numbers up in there from my cells. So I've got a clear reference. And Sum. This time I'll select some data, and then I can also select that Sum function from the toolbar. We spoke about this in the last section, but up in the toolbar here, we can format our numbers. As you can see, we can round up or down, but let's set that back. Let's take a look at how we can hand code some data so that it dynamically updates. Every formula begins with an equal sign, and you will see that that prompts the cell to bring up the functions again. But go ahead and write in the number of the first cell you want to reference, which in this case is A4. And I'm going to add a math operator, which in this case is asterisk for multiply, and then cell B4. Do this again in the next cell, but there's a way to speed this up. By creating cell references in sheets, we can copy our formulas across cells fast. Once a formula is in place, look for the blue dot on the corner, click and drag, and we can see our data is multiplying. I'd like to figure out my tax here, so I'll go ahead and sum my numbers. Using the toolbar, just reminding you that it's there. And then I'll create a new formula to reference the cell that's up at the top. I'm going to start with an equal sign, and then referencing my cells, which you can see this is turning orange to verify. Use the operator and verify, and so that's my tax. Thus far, we've been taking a look at cell references, relative cell references, but there are a few different kinds of cell references that make your formulas possible. Relative, fixed, sheet to another sheet, and file to another file. Say you want to create a reference that's pulling from another sheet. Using what we learned in the last section, I'll insert a row using the drop-down this time. And I think it'll go right here. This will be the cost per unit. And then pop back over and find the cell that I'd like to reference. I'd like to calculate the budget that would be needed for ketchup so I can see what's in cell B3 is the total number of ketchups. Jumping back over, I'll begin, as always, with the equal sign, and then with single quotes, I'll write the name of my sheet. See, it pays to label your sheets. And comma, the cell number, which is B3, and close quote. Looking at the formula bar, you can see it's written up there now. And if I want to jump back and change my value, we see that it's dynamically updated into my budget. We can also see that the chart is dynamically updating as well. So now my tax is off, so I'm going to need to recalculate that. So let's go and do what we did before, which is to create a cell reference. Remember, we created a formula that went in there, so I'll do what I did before, which is to click and drag the blue circle at the corner. Oh no! I got a 0. What is happening? Well, I'll tell you. When I make a cell reference, it's doing the logical thing, which is to assume that you want the same formula to apply to the next row of numbers. However, in this case, you want the row that's being referenced to stay the same for one number and change for another. And that's done by creating a fixed reference. We create a fixed reference by inserting a $sign into the cell that's being recorded. And 0. But we can see we're missing a second cell reference of the multiplied cost per unit times the total number, right? That's what we had up here. So it's because we have a new cell reference from the fixed $sign, but missing a value here. So we'll fix that up. Copy and paste the formula up above to save time. Whammo! There we have it. It's updated. We now have a fixed cell reference. We save time by copying and pasting the formula for multiplication. Let's go ahead and sum those two from the toolbar. And now we have a grand total for our budget. One other formula that's commonly used is count, just counting the total number of items. So I'll go ahead and select this data in a range, and I'll start typing count after my equal sign. There it is. You can see the options displayed that way as well if you start typing out what you're wanting, or go up to my formula bar and there's count. It's very popular. And now I can enter in my cell references by selecting, and you'll notice they're populating down at the bottom. And that's count. Karen has asked me to import an Excel file and convert it to Sheets and share it with her for our next big meeting. Back over on Drive, under the Settings gear, you'll find this Content Uploads box. You want to be sure and check to protect your native settings. When you import other software into Sheets, going back over, we'll go and look for Karen's file. There it is. Not sure why she couldn't do this herself, but we'll give it our best. And selecting the spreadsheet. Verifying the import settings. And there we go. Now we have the data imported, and we can see it's not quite perfect. We have the black bar up at the top that appears to be hiding some information. When we click on it, we can see text in the formula bar. So let's go ahead and change that, making it white or transparent. Let's begin by sorting the data. The fastest way to select all the data in the entire sheet is to go up and click the corner. Now we can see all the cells and all the ranges are selected. And on the drop down under Data, some quick options here for sorting your data. You can sort your data by column or alphabetical order. Removing duplicates and other fast functions in this same data drop-down. An arrow located in the top cell gives you the option to search your data, even if you're searching it by a specific date. Using this filter arrow, I can sort by one particular column. Up to this point, we've taken a look at how to create formulas using relative and fixed cell references. We have even seen how you can reference one sheet to another. Now let's see how we can reference data from one file to another. So I'm looking at the cell I'd like to reference here. Maybe even writing down my cell data information that I'd like to reference. Then going over to the Share button, selecting that and making a shareable link that anyone can view. Copying that link, because in a moment I'm going to be using this share link, and copying down my cell reference. I'm going to need that number as well to go into our formula with the share link. Now I'll jump back over to my original file, and here I'll select the cell where I'd like to place the reference. It's random this time to demonstrate. Type in my equal sign, and then to call the function I'm looking for, I'll start typing import range. Once that comes up and you press enter, a parentheses appears, and then type quotation marks and paste your URL from the shared sheet that we just copied, comma, and then the cell number we want to reference in quotes again, end quote, and close parentheses. And now we see the value appearing. Jumping back over to our file, let's share this with Karen by adding her email in the share screen and attach a thank you for letting me fix her document so that she can present it at the meeting. And we'll let her edit it so she doesn't bother me again. Okay, and press send. And oops, Karen really likes her data sorted by region. She's had quite a few talks with me about that. So let's go ahead and select a portion of the cells, and let's press Control-click and sort range and sort by region, which is column B. And there you have it. This will really make Karen look great at her meeting. I'm so excited. One thing I'd like to show you, if you'd like to create a form that goes with a current document, insert on the drop-down form, and you'll notice a new sheet has appeared. And a link at the top, click on that. That takes you over to the forms, which we'll cover in another section. Now, if you'd like to add some questions on here about a shopping list, maybe other people could add to it, you can go ahead, type your question, a little section For the question, the answers. Just going quickly here. I'll go into more detail in the form section. But this is to demonstrate. I pop back over to my file and I can see on the tab, I'm ready to collect responses related to this file. We can access printing using the top toolbar, this printer icon, where you can select your paper and some other settings. Over here on the file drop-down, version history is there. So sometimes your documents can get really complicated with numbers and formulas, and you are able to, at a glance, go back to a different date and time and restore your original file. One other way to send here is to send by email, which brings a pop-up box. So this will be coming out of my G Suite Gmail. So I'll go ahead, I'll send it to Karen this way, and I can type a message, which I can later view in Gmail, and press send. And it's off.